Hi everyone, just wanted to share with you the latest journal I finished. I've had a bit more time this week because I'm off work. So it's this Franken Journal. I'm home at the moment, so I wanted to have a journal that would allow me to just play really rather than anything in particular. So I decided to have a go at making Franken paper. I'll flip through it as we go, and then at the end I'll try and explain a bit how I did it. So the idea is just to have separate pages that are fairly abstract in nature, so that you can add doodles afterwards. This is some doodling that I added, and I wanted to have it so that I've got just a small book to have in front of me if I'm watching the television or listening to some music, so that I can just have a quick doodle on it. Nothing more technical than that really. I used mainly magazine images, although I did use some security envelopes, and this was sort of graph paper that I had. And there are downsides and positives of using magazine images. You get some lovely patterns, and it creates a really nice abstract background. The downside is that it's quite shiny, so some materials you won't be able to use as well on it. But I have found that marker pens and everything, and Neocolour 2s, they'll work well on it. And I'm just going to experiment even more. I think I might make one actually with book text next to give a slightly more matte surface to doodle on, or to do some abstract art. I struggle with abstract art. It's something I want to do a bit more of, but I find it very difficult to know where to start. This is perfect for that because it takes away the blank page to start with, but it also gives you some patterns to start with, and by the time you've actually finished, you've got over that fear of a blank page, and it just helps you sort of get a bit more into doing abstract stuff, as it were. So this is my attempt at doing that. I'm going to have wanted to have quite a lot of pages so that I could actually throughout this period of lockdown actually have a page to do every day. There's about 60 pages in it. I've already done a few, but it's one of those things that doesn't really matter if you don't do it. The pages are interesting without it, but just nice to have a bit of a different background to start on. So this is an example of a page where I've actually doodled on it, and these as well, you can see. I find that I don't normally work through the front of the book. This was just when I was making this was the first signature I made, and I was just trying it out to see if it would actually work. But the beauty of this is you can pick a page wherever and just start there, so there's no sort of starting or finishing. It just depends on a page that you actually like, and if you come across one that you like without doodles, you can just leave it as it is. It's quite an interesting thing. It's quite good because it gives you good examples of different types of pattern and texture that might be inspirational for another piece of work. So the actual size of the book it's 4.5 inches wide, the cover, by 5 inches tall, which is a funny measurement, but how I got this was I made a big sheet of Franken paper, and I've got, in true Blue Peter style, I've got one here that I made. You can't see it in its entirety, but you make it in a sheet. So the word Franken paper comes from a piece of paper that's just been torn and sort of reassembled, really. That's all it means. And so you start off with very small pieces or larger pieces, whichever you like, and just create them into one sheet. So this sheet is actually about 20 by 20. And the way the size came about was I just folded it in 4 and cut it, and then used that for the pages. But as I made more signatures, I made them in a slightly different way. So that's how it looks when you start. So it's very random. It's really good if you're struggling to focus at the moment, because there's not much thought required in it. You just stick pieces down cut out from magazines or what have you. And then I cut them into strips, so they're sort of like this. And again, you can make the pages whatever size you want, and then eventually they get cut down into sizes like this, and then they're just folded in half, and that's what makes the paper. So you'll see that it's sort of no pattern on the other side. So all I did was I stuck 2 together just with a Pritt stick, and then that becomes a page in your journal. They don't go exactly, but you can trim them My cutting skills aren't great, but it doesn't really matter for something like this. So you can then, that then becomes, I put 4 of those together, and that was what made the signature. So I made 4 of those signatures, and how I did mine was I did, because you're doing it in a large sheet, I actually folded and made it into a signature from that one sheet. So it means you have the same colourway. So the first signature is all sort of blues and browns. So that was one sheet sort of cut up. And then the next sheet was black and white. So you then have a series of black and white pages, and then an orange and brown signature, and then finally a pinkish one. But you can mix them up. So once you cut if you make all your Franken pages, and then you can cut them up and glue them so that you have different colours on subsequent pages. It really is entirely up to you how you do it. But it's very easy to make. There's nothing technical about this in terms of it doesn't matter if the pages don't match. It doesn't matter if they're not, you don't measure them properly. And then I just put them into the cover I made from, it was an apple pie box that I had left over. I save all my packaging, and I used an extra piece of cut off from when I got a bit carried away with this colour, because you find your Franken paper gets bigger and bigger. I used a cut off that I just covered the apple pie box, and then another cut off from a different colour to make the inside. Again, it was just offcuts of the big sheets that I'd made, so nothing separate, and then I put one separate piece down in the spine. I decided, because it was only glue stick, that I would actually hand stitch the joins where the pieces met, just to give it a bit of strength. This is just it's a sort of flax wax thread that I used, just because I had it here in the cupboard. So before I used it to cover the apple pie box, I hand stitched it. It didn't take long at all. You can have big stitches, and you could actually do more decoration if you wanted to on the cover before you use it. It's easier to stitch it when it's just one thickness, so stitch it before you stick your pages together, because they're quite sort of like cardboard thickness, so it's actually more difficult to sew through now. And then I just covered it with one coat of varnish, matte varnish. I could actually cover it with another one, but I think that's fine. And then I used, as per usual, like fishing wire to make the spines, just so that you can't actually see the spines, you can still see the cover of the book more. And there you have it. Very simple, very great thing to do. As I say, if you're struggling to focus with any art at the moment, this is great. It's kept me occupied all week. It's taken me a week to do this, and I absolutely loved it. So have a go. One Franken Journal. Thanks very much.